My name is Ben Roche. I'm a farm structures specialist. I work with Teagasc and I'm based in Moore Park. I deal with different farm operating arrangements. And my chief area of work is in relation to farm partnerships. Farm partnerships is a relatively new concept which was established on a formal basis in 2002 with the introduction of legislation by the Department of Agriculture. Now, farm partnerships, it operates on two different bases, one of them being within the family, it being, I suppose, very often used there as a mechanism in the transfer of the farm business from one generation to the next. So it would involve the parents normally and the son or daughter who would eventually be taking over the farm. The second way in which farm partnerships operate really is between neighbours. Is a mechanism to facilitate two or three farmers to come together and operate their farms as one business, hence getting scale, lifestyle and better operating arrangements, skills mix into the arrangement. Currently the number in operation is around 560, but it's an ongoing process, and when the farm partnership scheme was introduced by the department back in 2002, it was very restrictive in terms of farm schemes, and I think in the arrangements over the years, a lot of different farm schemes did not accommodate partnerships. But some of those barriers that have been there have been removed, and the Department of Agriculture are currently looking at removing all of those barriers, and of course the Minister has made expressions of what his intentions are in future and the role that he sees for partnerships. Well, the model in New Zealand is not exactly on a partnership basis, it's share milking. It's here in Ireland, I suppose we look at New Zealand as a very good model for Irish dairy farming, and a lot of the things that operate in New Zealand I think are very appropriate to Ireland because of its climate and so on. But one of the factors with regard to farming in New Zealand is very different to Ireland is the size of farm. The average dairy farm size in New Zealand is 380 cows, while the average in Ireland is around 68 cows. So we're very, very different here in Ireland, and scale is our big concern here in Ireland. And I think if we look at a model for Ireland here, maybe there are better models in Europe. France, as an example, is at its farm size similar to Ireland. They have a model going there called Teagasc. It's a partnership model which facilitates farmers to operate together, both in a family situation and non-family situation. And the reason why we looked at France as an interesting model, it's a European model where farm size in France is very similar to that in Ireland, and where farm size is small, I think having a mechanism which facilitates farmers to come together is a way of getting scale, because there are only so many farmers who are prepared to lease their land, and the amount of land sold in Ireland annually is around 1%. So the development of farm size or increase of farm size through sale of land is certainly very low, and in spite of very, I think, attractive leasing, tax incentives for leasing, the number of farmers who want to lease out their land in Ireland is limited. So partnership as a model, it has the advantages of getting scale into the arrangement, lifestyle, skill mix, and I think different mix of facilities on different farms. So as a way forward, it certainly, when we look at farming in Ireland, again like in Europe, family farming is very important to us. So it allows families to put their farms together as business. But one of the fundamental things about a partnership is a completely different operating arrangement to running a farm as a family, in that you really have to focus on it as a business. And running it as a business puts a completely different mindset into the arrangement, in that the decisions, important decisions, have to be agreed between the partners. So it means that you're very unlikely to have flippant decisions made on the spur of the moment, that this, important decisions and developments are well thought out and planned by the partners. So I think, when you look at the scale of partnerships in France, in dairying, over half the milk in France is produced on business arrangements such as partnerships. And then when you look at the larger dairy farms in France, the farms, for example, where the quota is a statistic, for example, of where the quota is 420,000 litres up, over 80% of those farms are operating in partnerships. Well, I think it's come to my attention, or it's my view anyway, that farmers in any country probably have a lot more in common than farmers and non-farmers in any given country. And I think partnership, a lot of people would say in Ireland, well, partnerships, that would never work in Ireland. That used to be said. I don't hear it so much anymore since the model has been put into operation the last number of years. But I think for the partnership concept to grow in Irish farming, a lot of education needs to be done. A lot of information needs to go out there to farmers, because to be fair to farmers, a lot of farmers are not, haven't really looked at the concept. And it's not a question of going and operating a partnership using the same mechanism, the same model as you'd use a family farm. It has to be done differently. And I think that if we have a proper incentives and education, and farmers can learn from one another by talking to and visiting and looking at other partnerships that are in operation. To summarise, I think that when milk quotas will go in 2015, the big barrier there for people in dairy farming to expand will be land, it will be management, and it will be labour and investment. And a partnership model is something that can provide all of those. And I think that into the future, I think people will look at partnerships as really a possible way forward.